Hi everybody, welcome to today's video, and we are talking about cookware and kitchen utensils. This is what I have in my kitchen and this is what I use to do my recipes. So let's get into it. We all have the usual utensils: teaspoons, forks, tablespoons, but I'm not sure if people actually have the big spoons, and it may seem silly, but if you try using a tablespoon to mix things, water splashes, oil splashes. So it's better to get a big spoon with a longer handle just to minimize burns. Now, if you don't have a mixer, a wooden spoon is amazing, and it's not only for spanking. All you need is a big bowl and a wooden spoon, and you can make any cake batter you want. It's great to have also if you're boiling things that tend to overflow. They say put a wooden spoon across your pot and then it won't overflow when it's boiling. So we have tried it and it has worked. So another good tip for a wooden spoon. If your knife skills aren't that good, I suggest you try a serrated edge knife. That way it'll give you grip, it'll grip into your vegetables, whatever you're cutting into. If you use a straight edge knife, make sure it's really sharp, and I think some people think that's a worse idea. But if your knife is blunt and you're trying to cut into a tomato or something, it's going to slip off and you might chop a finger off. Okay, so it's best to make sure your knife is really sharp. If your knife skills aren't that good, I strongly suggest you get a chopping board. You get different kinds, you get small ones, big ones, different shapes, plastic ones, bamboo ones, whatever works for you, whatever you can afford. But I feel like it's safer to use a chopping board, and it minimizes accidents. A whisk may seem like something extra or something you don't really need to have in your cupboard. You can just use like a fork and beat up an egg or something like that. But when it comes to sauces, like your white sauce for mac and cheese or a chocolate sauce for dessert, you really want your batter or the consistency to be really flowy and not lumpy. So I do plan on doing a little video on how to make roti or handmade breads, and you would need a rolling pin to roll those out. You can also use your rolling pin for puff pastry if you want to make pies. I know that's one of the videos I'd like to make. So if you don't have a blender or a grinder, a pestle and mortar really does the job well. It just requires some elbow grease, but I feel like the food and the spices come out much better with the pestle and mortar, and you can really put your energies into the food that way. So I prefer to use the pestle and mortar. We do have a grinder and a blender, but I make my sour milk salads in there. I crush all the spices, the seeds, and make a powder out of it, so I can make my own blends. So a peeler, spatula, slotted spoon, or those spider web spoons as some call it, a sieve, a colander, grater, measuring cups, all of those are great to have. They're not a must, so if you have spare change lying around, I suggest you buy slowly one of those things as time goes by, just to make life easier. Okay, I know this isn't really a utensil, but oven gloves or oven mitts is the best thing to have if you have like a phobia of getting burnt. Like maybe you tried cooking and you got burnt and now you're just scared shitless. So invest in oven mitts, and you don't really need it. Like some people use a dishcloth to strain out their pasta or their rice, whatever the case may be. But oven mitts, I feel, give more protection, and it's easier to use because sometimes the dishcloth can slip if you're not used to using it. So measuring cups and a measuring jug is important when it comes to baking, but first I'm going to do more cooking recipes, and as time goes by I will do a baking recipe. So if you don't have measuring cups right now, you can still save and get them, and I will do baking in the future. So you will need the measuring cup, but not right now. Okay, so if it's your first time buying pots, just make sure that you're aware of what kind of stove you've got, electric or gas. That will influence what kind of pot you buy. So if you're looking at buying those thick base stainless steel kind of pots, and if you have gas, just be wary that your food may burn because it'll heat up too quickly. Alright, so just be aware of what kind of pots you're buying. Also on the size of the pots. Now I do suggest you buy one pot slightly bigger than the other, because if you're cooking rice or pasta, it requires more space for the rice or pasta to cook, to boil, so that they can separate from each other. If you use a small pot, they're gonna get stuck, it's gonna get mushy, you'll have like a clump of pasta and it won't be that nice. If you can, get at least one frying pan, because they're great for stir fries, to deep fry or shallow fry. It's just nice to have, and to make sauces as well. So if you can, make sure you buy a frying pan. Now a baking tray is also good to have, because you can, you know, make a potato bake or broccoli and cauliflower bake, put cheese over it, throw it in the oven and let it get nice and crispy. So this is what I have in my kitchen, and I can still come up with amazing recipes, and the food looks like it's from Instagram. So you don't need to have all fancy shit to make nice food, okay? So now that we have our utensils and our stoves, the next video is all about spices, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys next week.